What if you could inspect the workmanship on every section of a commercial roof without waiting for the final walkthrough?
That's what the superintendent and quality control inspections are for.
They can't be everywhere at once. The photos inside Optelos can reveal unacceptable practices that were overlooked during installation.
Such as?
Poor flashing details, open seams, improper fastening, incomplete terminations. Each issue is visible, geo-located, and tied to the exact area of the project.
So the contractor can send the crew directly back to the problem before it's covered, before closeout, and before a workmanship issue becomes a warranty claim.
That isn't just project documentation.
It's quality control with proof.
And David, let's stay here. What if this segment? What if the crew missed? David, why don't you start off? This segment brought to you by Optelos. Break this segment down for us, David Tran.
Yeah, no, we can probably spend hours on this, but you kind of boil it down, right? It's, really the way we look at it is the first thing is if you can't see it, right? You can't see these issues. You can't measure it, right? And if we can't measure it, we can't plan it, we can't budget it, we can't account for that. And so this is for us about being able to see these conditions through the different captures, right? The drones, mobile devices, then be able to take that and measure it through digital twin and AI, and then basically allow the output to deliver these types of actions. So for us, it's really about those concepts of, gotta be able to see it. Once we can see it, right, we can measure it. And once we can measure it, man, we can do all sorts of really cool stuff with that data.
Absolutely, right. David. I'll tell you from a contractor's perspective, I'm basically going to repeat what you said in different words, right? So in any process of any service that we're providing, there's three kind of main points there where we're going to go look at the work, we're going to estimate the work, and then we're going to do the work. And then after that, we have to quality control the work to make sure that it reaches an acceptable standard before we present that back to the paying client and say, here you go, the job is done. And, we get on to the next activity there. So this provides us a world where we don't miss these things. And the best part about it is not only are we seeing things from a visual perspective, there are different ends of the electromagnetic spectrum that we can utilize, thermal and other things like that also plug into the Optelos environment that are just more tools in the tool belt, making our job that much easier, making our quality control and processes that much tighter. So it's a bad thing when people miss, though, Keith. These are nightmare scenarios for us, depending on what it is, right? Small service contract, not a big deal. We'll probably get another chance with the client. Yeah. We can clean that mess up. But when we start getting into industrial warehousing, massive multi-million-dollar contracts when it comes to new construction or re-roofing, if something starts going wrong and continues going wrong, we're talking about massive insurance claim or cash outflows that could seriously damage or even shut down a company depending on their size.
Interesting. So, what I'm wondering, guys, is maybe, so we've been dropping a word on the show, and Ryan, you live in the word, David, you live in the word, and I live in the word, but maybe somebody tuning in right now is not living in the word. And the word I'm talking about is digital twin. David Tran, what is a digital twin?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, we throw that word around, much like AI. So if you really look at digital twin, it's just a 3D replication of whatever that object is, right? So digital twin just allows us to basically provide the users with a 3D replica of that object, a roof, a cell tower, a structure, so that they can inspect it just like they were on site without having to be there. Right, so they can do walkthroughs, they can measure, can really do anything that they want on this three-dimensional replication of that physical object. So it just allows a bunch of capabilities around doing that inspection without always having to be on site to collect that data.
Yeah, Ryan, as a roofing contractor and somebody who's leading the charge in this industry, blending the future technology with yesterday's processes, when you first were introduced to a digital twin of a building, a full building envelope per se, I'm making an assumption here. you really had an aha moment because you're like, oh, I now can see what I can do with this. Ryan.
Absolutely. I was our company's lead estimator at the time.
Yeah.
So being the guy who came from doing the takeoffs the old school way, just random pictures around the roof of the measuring tape of the details, generally what's going on, working with an estimator at the time and understanding what it meant to document things clearly and his frustrations, and then becoming an estimator took it to that different level, right? Because now I was training people, I was feeling those frustrations. You're always wondering, it's like, I have a picture here, I have a picture here, and there's this gap in between them, and you're like, what's in between those? Or like there's something off that's this side of the camera, and you're like, man, like you're almost thinking in your mind, like, man, if I could turn my monitor and like see a little bit more information. So that's what it really came down to for me, is just like, they show me this digital twin or 3D mesh or point cloud. There's different versions of it for different purposes, but it was like, oh my gosh, they finally figured it out. I can see everything as if I'm right there on the roof. And it's not just about the internal operations. There's opportunity here for the customer, the client facing side of things as well. We oftentimes provide our clients access to our Optelos work packages for their own purposes, and we use them in sales. I'll tell one quick story that I'd love to tell about this. Is early in our days of 3D modeling, we were also experimenting with virtual reality. We had a local property manager whose asset manager was out in California. That property manager was having trouble convincing the asset manager that they needed a new roof, and there was no doubt about it. They needed a new roof. So what did we do? We took that digital twin, we put it in a VR chat room, we shipped the asset manager out in California a set of VR goggles. We took everybody on a virtual tour. We flew them up to the roof like you're in a dream, and we start showing them the damage, the age, the problems. And before we got out of that chat room, the roof was sold. Now, I know that's a very high technical aptitude way of doing things. It's only becoming easier, and it's actually very simple on David's platform to get in there and just on a video call, share your screen, show them the 3D models, zoom in, talk to them as if you're standing on the roof, and think about the possibilities. And rather than going there and burning all that time, it's like we could run 10, 20 of those video calls a day. So it's really about, it's a force multiplier among all the other things that we've talked about here.
Yeah.